Hi, folks. Nick Dockert here. Nick Dockert here with Nick Knows Nerf. Before we get into it, I do want to thank some folks for making this program and all my programming possible, namely the our good friends over at the Independent Creator Directory, indcd.org, your one-stop shop for the best and the best authors, artists, and musicians. All my book sales and White Boot Arms and Artistry, my personal business. Now, today I wanted to catch up. I know it's been a while since I've done a Nick Knows Nerf. We've had quite a lot happening in the background, but I wanted to get this out. I wanted to get this out for a while because one, I have some blasters I need to review for you guys, and two, there's something that I've wanted to discuss and it's been bugging me. So, right now in the Nerf sphere, it's funny to call it the Nerf sphere because of the major groups, it is one of Nerf itself is one of the least relevant overall. Um, but Dart Zone keeps doing incredible. Now, lately, X Shot has actually been catching up and nudging them, which I'm totally okay with because competition encourages creativity. Sorry, got a comment. Oh, good evening. Good evening, Carl. But I was wondering what did X Shot, I'm sorry, not X Shot, what did Nerf do wrong? And what did Dart Zone do right to get where we've been for the last couple of years? Well, a lot of it goes down goes down to one of the oldest policies that Nerf as a company has had, which is it's Nerf or nothing, because they've tried to maintain that they are the one and only true uh, home of the foam flinging game. They weren't even the first, but they were the most prominent. Uh, Laramie did some wonderful things, yes, before it was acquired and all that. But I was thinking, why? Why does Dart Zone uh, consistently do better than Nerf? And why are their why are Nerf's products failing? Dart Zone's isn't. And what can we expect from them in the future? Well, right now we have three major players that need to be discussed. It isn't X Shot, although they're pushing hard, and we'll mention them towards the end. And it isn't Busby, although I love Busby toys. They're staying in their lane. They make low cost, accessible, kid friendly blasters. That's what they do. Now, when you start getting to the high end stuff, you have two forces that basically converge. Nerf would make blasters, things like the Retaliator, the Maverick. We're looking at older blasters, the Long Shot, that people would then modify to shoot farther and harder. And people tinkered with it and they made designs. And as 3D printing hit, the designs went nuts. And you had people making and establishing their own standards. And their standards look like something here. I'm going to crack one open. This is the worst named product I've seen in a long time because it's the Adventure Force Tactical Strike Ammo Clip Refills. This does not possess any ammo. It does not possess any darts. So it is neither an ammo nor a clip, but it is a 2-pack of magazines for $10 available through our good friends at Wally World. As always, not sponsored, but if Wally World wants to give me some money, I will gladly accept it. And these were modeled after the geometry of what's called a Talon mag. And I honestly can't remember which small company came up with that first, but this is based on the standard And what Dart Zone did is they made lighter ones that were a little finicky. And while they could be used in some blasters, they couldn't be used in all of them. But they realized that, and they started making these. I'm sorry, my hands are being a little finicky because of the weather. Now, why am I talking about magazines when I want to talk about blasters? Because we're talking about mentality. And first, and do I have any of them handy? I don't believe I do, because I've been cleaning. Wait, yes, I do. One moment. I have to move some stuff. But let me just pull out my personal blaster. Why are you seized? There we go. Just hasn't been played with in a bit. There we go. Sorry, I was looking for one of these and just occurred to me there's one right here. This is the basic version of the original blaster that Dart Zone put out. The magazine fits the half darts that the 3D printing and independent community, which are this size, even though these are cruddy versions, put out. They were effective, they were cheap, but they weren't quite the same geometry as the originals. Okay. Light grade. But they worked, and they worked really well in the Nexus Pro, which is the blaster that brought pro blasting to the mainstream public. The original Nexus Pro, which would be actually one of these guys. Oh, and yeah, I knew I had one for the example, but mine is, since, obviously been a little modded. Just, this is paint-wise, I think. Yeah, this one is actually stock. But this is my personal baby. And it came with guys like this to adapt, and an adapter to cover regular dart mags, which I had one and I just yeeted it. Oh well. That were the size of normal, traditional long darts. So something like this. These are colloquially still referred to as Talon mags. They made a longer one, they made it grippier so it was easier to hold on as part of the evolution, and they gave it a slight curve to make it easier to tell orientation. You can grab it blind, go, this is the front, this is the back, and reload your blaster. No, this was supposed to be pre-recorded, but we had some technical issues, so this is live as it's being shot. I wouldn't have had the issues I had it been pre-recorded. However, this had some faults. It's not the sturdiest magazine, as you can see. And it has, in its cross-section, a little hard to see, doesn't fit all the hobby blasters. So we're going to put this back nicely, because this is my personal original blaster. Spicy Night. Oh my. You know where to send details, Grim, but we're going to remember this, because this was a few years ago. Now, these were very close, but they didn't fit with the hobby blasters. They needed a more square stock. So they made these. Now, these magazines are almost perfectly in line with the hobby ones. They'll run in almost every blaster you find. This is what Dart Zone did. Nerf, when they did a pro blaster, this is my modded one. Its name is Pingu. Newt. But they made these magazines. These magazines are angled. They are roughly Talon mags, but they are also totally proprietary. So if you want in the Nerf ecosystem, you have to use the Nerf brand magazines. So they did that. Dart Zone went, we'll make ones that fit everybody. Nerf is annoyed. I'm pretty sure, Donna, if you had older blasters, they were full-length darts. I'll say 2.5 inches. Let me see. Do I have one that is intact in here? I was cleaning, so I can find nothing. Found my Altoids, but there we go. Now that's okay. This is a standard Nerf dart. These are the half darts. The benefit of a half dart is you can hold a lot more, and at higher speed, they are more stable. These tend to tumble. The hobbyists tweaked and perfected. They're down to, I want to say, 26 millimeter, between 23 and 26 millimeter. Briefly, they were referred to as Stephans. There's a whole thing. Oh, yes. Well, partially. That to answer the question, that adapter lets you use a half darts alone in that blaster because that blaster was specifically designed to use both systems. The way the pusher lines up. But most full length blasters, even if you put an adapter in, they won't be able to fire because the thing that pushes the dart won't push it far enough to get it locked in. That and Nerf likes to put little dart studs to prevent you from using half darts. And again, I got most of my dorky half blasters. Oh, no, it's my absolute pleasure. That's what we're here for. But I've been following Dart Zone for a while, and I've noticed some patterns. One, you have, they'll take something Nerf did, and they'll do it better. The chief example is, if you think of a Nerf gun, and where are my Jolts? All my Jolts are gone. But there's a little tiny pistol that is called the Jolt. It is the pinnacle, the original OG little dart firing Nerf gun. It's what most people think of. However, it did have some problems in that it wasn't very powerful. Now, most of the hobbyists, well, they like a bit more power. So they would put bigger springs in it and tweak it and do different things. Well, what happened is Dart Zone put out the Dart Zone Solo. Well, the Dart Zone Solo is a folding, theoretically single-shot blaster. And I say theoretically because there are things that can be done that works just like a Jolt when it is deployed. Now, it has this rather unique hinge for a couple reasons. One, fit in the pocket more comfortably. And two, to make sure it's very much legally and visually distinct, not to be confused with a Nerf blaster. But it also, if you look, hi, I see you. There's no dart stud. So this thing can feed, you can eat a half dart. Lydia, Merry Christmas. Safety's on. And yes, in many countries, you have to have a safety on blasters that hit over a certain FPS. These do. It also has Picatinny rails for if you want different sights and stuff slid on. Handy little blaster, but any bit of foam, so it will also take a full-length dart. Hit the release, it'll go. Now, they sold these for about $15. And they sold them first exclusively from their website. Literally pro blasting at a very affordable price that's doing what Nerf does, but better, built up more and more expensive. And it was 15 before shipping and handling and all that. Well, they used this to work out some hinks to come up with this. Now, this is the cricket. And while it is not a formal nod to the here, this will fire one that doesn't even have a head, so I'm not even worried about it. Noisy cricket in Men in Black, it understands its theme. This hits somewhere around 120 feet per second. It's a little beast. It's a little bit less than what the other Nerf darts we've mentioned hit at. And there was a jam because this doesn't have a head, so it shouldn't fire. I forgot what I was shooting. Here we go. Got another dart right here. It's a half dart, same idea. And it will eat half darts. It will eat full length. It'll eat the Chinese 2/3. It doesn't care. It's also $7.99 at Walmart right now on the shelves, which means you could go down and for $7.99 have something that you can literally snipe with. Because first, Dart Zone went, we're going to do like Nerf, but better. And then they went, but cheaper. Now, X-Shot's trying to do the same thing, but cheaper. So they released a pack that comes with a converter and one of these magazines, which you can see is very similar to the Dart Zone design, but still doesn't quite fit all blasters. That's why they went to these. They're a half a beat behind. That's okay. The model, the idea is that Dart Zone looks at what Nerf does. They look at what the hobby blasters do, and then they do something that is usually cheaper than the hobby blasters, and usually, almost always, I forget, see, infinitely better than what Nerf is making, more effective, more powerful, etc. Hi, Dave. Pew pew. Oh, I'm here to go. So, to expound on that, I got a deal on what's in this box. This is called a hamster. And this hamster, we opened the box, is a varied Nerf gun. It comes with, obviously, some knockoff half darts. Knockoff half darts with suction tips. I am rather amused by these because I still think suction darts are cool. And one thing nobody's doing outside of the few people in the hobby sphere, little balls. Now, if you paid attention to Nerf, you know Nerf did Hyper. And they did little tiny rubberish balls because these were popular. But these are half-inch diameter, which means in any Nerf blaster, any style Nerf blaster, they will, here, I'll grab this one because it's easier to load. Load up and seal. Bonk. Now I'm going to pop this into my hand to get it out of there. But they will, safety back on, fire, and right back in the box. That's a little, it stings a little bit, but no, a little bit of redness. And that's at point blank. They are a bit of a choke hazard, so there's some argument. But Nerf tried to steal these designs, but they didn't get that they were compatible, and Nerf wanted their things to be DRM. We've talked about Nerf Dart DRM before with the new N1 darts, and it keeps failing. It failed when they did it with Hyper. It failed when they did it with Ultra. They keep trying to do the same thing and failing to try to make Nerf in its own environment. Now, this is the hamster, a hobby blaster of no small water that I ordered because I got a sweet deal. I believe this came in at $7.99, but this is much, much smaller a company. And when I tell you, the build quality is very different than what you find in any of these because you have this whole metal spring chamber. The plastic is it's sturdy, but has enough elasticity to, absorb a couple hits. And it is flat. So not only will this fit in your pocket, but more importantly, it will fit comfortably in your pocket. So I am intrigued because they made this thing. It had to be distinct and different from the Jolt, but again, it's basically a Jolt, but better. I really don't want to shoot. Now, I'll shoot one of the regular darts that basically came with it because I have many of such darts. I haven't gotten this behind a chronometer because this just came in. This is a hobby blaster. That means this was not made by a big company. Now, this will take a half dart, so we know that. We're just gonna. Oh, I want to show something. I'll show you after because I don't want to violate a couple of rules. I can just one-handed, but I tend to be left-handed, and my right hand likes to touch. So even with me catching the spring a bit, fires just fine. But the barrel is still long enough that let me grab a full dart. Nick, you need to clean up your area. I do. This is a full dart. It absolutely screams. Now, I could load this whole barrel up with probably 6 or 8 of those little balls and turn it into a shot blaster. This is where the hobby went. Nerf isn't even trying. And Dart Zone is going, we're going to make a top-of-the-line something. Make our best version of something new. And we'll sell it at best version prices a lot of times, either with exclusivity. So they had a lot of exclusivity contracts with Target. I don't think they're still having them. But because a lot of their market has stopped showing up there and is showing up at Wally World and other retailers. But then they release either in another market something like this, this is all plastic, save for the spring and some screws. Whereas there's a lot of metal. This is this has a metal barrel, etc. It's more reinforced. You can feel the weight difference, etc. Almost exactly the same prime. This one hits a little softer, but they've streamlined and literally mainstreamed this. They did the same thing when you look at the Nexus Pro X, which functions like this in its build quality and attitude. It's a little heavier. It's a lot stouter. It's one of the most plush, certainly the most plush over-the-counter Nerf blaster you're going to find. And then they make this, which is closer to what they did with the Striker, the Striker 2.0 does, which is lighter. It's cheaper, but it's still very effective, and it has a different set of tricks to it. Why am I talking about this? Because what Dart Zone does, and I'm going to pull out another blaster in a moment, is they try to take what Nerf did and make it better. They talk to the modding community and go, what are you modding Nerf blasters to do? Hit harder, hold different ammunition types, have swappable grips, things like that. Have rails that hold standard optics. And the hobbyists designed these beautiful 3D printed blasters and homemade blasters. I am proud to be among the people who do that sort of thing. I dabble. Mine aren't ready to be revealed yet because they're way in prototype. But they listen to the community and go, okay, we'll do that. To the point that they know one thing modders always do is either try to convert like a half dart blaster. If it's an electric half dart blaster and it's single, it's semi-auto. It's one squeeze of the trigger, fires. They have actually come to the point, and I'm going to show you a little bit. I'm not going to crack the actual blaster open, but this is something I got a while ago on a very nice set of sales, again, out of my own pocket, called a Vector Pro. The Vector Pro is a semi-automatic pro-level blaster. It doesn't open nice, so I will have to open it to reveal. But it has a couple little interesting kicks. And we're going to talk about that and why Nerf isn't doing these, and they should. And no, this isn't me doing things just to have an excuse to write off my Nerf blasting privilege, my foam flinging. I got to get back to saying foam flinging. But we have the instructions. I am a man. I won't be using those. That was a joke. I just already have seen enough unboxings of this to understand. It comes with this blaster. It's an odd blaster. And the reason it's odd is it's designed to do some very strange features that modders really like to do to old Nerfs, especially something called a strife. So I'm going to just, here. There you go. Pardon the disaster. I'm just going to crack on with getting this out because this has some features that are important. First off, in the form factor, oh, there's another. I knew there was another catch in here. There we are. In the form factor, and I'm not even going to pull the magazine out of there because I have one sitting here. I'm not going to pull the iPro because I'm wearing iPro. But here we go. They mod blasters to be, well, you look over here, Doom Bunny's cute, but he's not what this show is about. We're looking professional right now. To be what's called bullpumped, which means they pull the magazine, which is normally in front of the trigger assembly, behind the trigger assembly, and then have some kind of relay bar to actuate the loading of, normally it would be a cartridge in real steel. It's just pushing a dart to what these bulges are flywheels. And I don't know if you can see. Do you see the flywheels? See if I can get the light just right. There you go. You can see the bottom flywheel. Those are two flywheels that are spinning opposite each other. So a dart gets pushed in, they're spinning. One's going this way, one's going that way. And it whips said dart that it crushes. It grabs hold of it in a groove and yeets it out at high speed. So they took and they bullpumped it. Now, there was a blaster known as a Raven, very well loved bullpup blaster. Everyone loved it. Nerf stopped making it. People fight over finding the old ones, but Nerf won't re-release the old ones for reasons that baffle me. They treat them as limited collectibles. It's strange. So you have that, and that will take. It comes with one of these a shorter one of these actually. Oh, that's nice. It comes with a little 12, and these are 15s. But pops right in there. Dart goes in. Little bar comes out, pushes it, flywheel gets it, yeet. So they went, okay, you guys mod that sort of thing. What else do you mod? Well, we like to be able to put stocks on our stuff. Nerf stopped putting regular and strike stocks on the back of their blasters. Again, for no reason. And then when they released the new ones, they started putting stocks in. Everybody got excited. They don't match because they want you to go out and buy new stuff. This matches all the old blasters to the point. I am going to come back here. Pingu, I need to borrow you. Newt. This is, I want to say, a 20-year-old stock. It fits loose, so I wedge a piece of cardboard under there. Nerf technology, folks. I am currently a little legendary for my Nerf mods of why not just tape it. But now it has a full-length stock that is surprisingly comfortable for people who want that. I don't necessarily need it because I am a short fellow. I understand this. So this is totally appropriate for me and my use. But they did some other things. Chiefly, one thing people have started doing, and we're going to put that back before we get there, because you sit, you stay, is, and I have to get into this mess, which is always glorious. You need to stay over there too, because I have to not lose that piece of paper. I'm going to have to make a custom unpackaging spoon for certain terms and services. But okay, here we go. We'll get this back out. We'll pull this out. A bunch of the new darts are rattling around in there, but I really don't want to deal with them, so I'm just going to put them aside. Community started designing barrel attachments that slide on and make your darts more stable. They first started with what they call scar barrel, which is essentially a string that has been glued in to give rifling. Then they came up with a B-car, which is beads, or in this case, little wheels that are canted. And they're designed to make a dart spin. Well, you need a fancy attachment, or, of course, you could just open it up, realize that this is a one moment. This is a bullpup. So this much of the blaster would be the firing mechanisms. So you have plenty of space, and with a B-car, you don't need a lot of barrel because it functions as a barrel. It even has locking prongs to keep from falling out once you've done that. Because the fans, the hobbyists, are doing just that. Now, had I a screwdriver, which I did not bring with me, I'd throw some batteries in this, and I would let her rip, which I will eventually. Hear that clunk? That's a very positive clunk. That makes me happy. But, again, it has a safety. It is comfortable to hold by humans. You can actually aim it because it has a simple, effective front sight. Now, you can put optics or whatever, but it's effective. It's a small form, reinforced areas to hang straps, because these are the things the hobbyists do to the blasters that they buy. I know because I do the same things to mine when I get them from Goodwill for my own purpose. I save up and I get maybe a better spring or change the way something fires. The problem is a lot of that could be used in other blasters. Yes, it could. Whereas Nerf is constantly trying to do its Nerf or nothing. Dart Zone is saying, hey, let's play nice. We all want to fling foam. In there, it will accept, I want to say 8 AA's, which is why I have a huge box of rechargeables. This case that it's in can be taken out, remove a special connector that's already there, and you can connect LiPos, which are high-end rechargeable, more powerful batteries, to get it hit harder and go farther. But more than that, this is a semi-automatic blaster, which means, again, where I'd have the screwdriver to open her up, apparently someone borrowed it, it would, once squeeze the trigger, fire one dart and stop. It would not cycle and push. But people like to modify blasters. They wanted this to be different than the Venom Pro, which is only full auto. And one of my favorite blasters. It's downstairs right now in a guitar case for reasons. But they could have left it at that because, it wouldn't take long for modders to design a little piece and put it in and all that. They could have left it. Instead, if you crack this bad boy open, if you unscrew it to look at the insides, which I think, do they have a picture on the back? I can't remember. Yeah, no, this one doesn't. Sometimes they have a picture on the back to show you the internals. Inside, screwed in, is the piece you would swap out to make it full auto. Because that's what the hobbyists and the pro levels want. They aren't approaching their customers like, here's what we're going to give you. You can like it or not. They are approaching their customers like, our job is to give you what you want. Tell us what you do. We'll do that for you. Now, will I still mod old Nerf blasters? Absolutely. Will I, when I get one of these 3D printers hopping and popping, be cranking out things much like the one Joe made for me? Absolutely. I'm a nut job, but not everybody is. So that means you can drop, now, full bird, I want to say this is 40 bucks. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Have a nice little out of the box pro compatible blaster. But they've taken into mind what the modders and what the guys who use pro blasters want in them. And strike stock adapters, the ability to switch from single auto to full auto, barrel adjustments and additions that actually add accuracy, not just style points, the ability to use mags you already have and buy mags at the store that will work with blasters you already have at a $5 price instead of the $15 to $20 they used to be to buy like workers. This is how, hello Vex Nebula, this is how we get a company that is listening to what the audience and what the people who are passionate actually want. And this is why they will keep beating the pants off of Nerf. Because they're doing everything Nerf does, but better. They literally took, if you looked right now, you could buy something, what's the name on it? I can't remember. Not Speeder. It's a Nerf flywheeler with the N1 that is laid out much like this, but it's those funky N1 darts that require funky N1 dart magazines that you can't buy by themselves because they didn't want you to be able to blend with the community. They want to be a walled garden. And that mentality never works. People keep trying that, especially out of Hasbro. Hasbro, as a company, tries that attitude in Dungeons and Dragons. They try it in Magic, and they try it in Nerf. It doesn't work. We are all parts of a community that serve each other. So keeping your customers' actual wants in mind, shockingly, gives you reliable return customers. Yes, exactly. Just like stuff Sony would do. It's the same mentality. Now, mind you, almost all the Hasbro policies I listed were under the guidance of the same executive who's been failing to make this really work across a great number of companies. But that's okay. Now, I can't wait to get my screwdriver and actually get into that. I'm very disappointed that I left that out, but I'm not going to go rummaging midstream for a screwdriver. So I'll tinker with it. I'll shoot off some darts, and then I'll do a proper, what my take is on the Vector Pro. And I think I'm going to like it because it's a small platform that's going to be very tight. It's in that fairly sweet spot of right around 150 feet per second. Yep. And you're good to go. I do these videos on the scant chance that perhaps someone either in authority will do so, or the hobbyists will get, okay, that's what's going on here. But when we can go from all that going on and a small company can put out something like this, which is compatible to all that, compatible in price, heavier constructed, and can eat all of it, we are in a very unique place. Because all these blasters are doing a couple things that are very important. They're all brightly colored. They are all careful not to have too much of a real steel profile. This is something I'm always concerned about, because if I'm playing with these, or my son is playing with these, or Grim is playing with these, because very soon I will be reaching out to Grim as soon as the weather settles and my house is clean enough to have guests. Grim is going to get to try blasting these things. Grim is going to get to try, range testing these and sniping with Nerf blasters far more powerful than anything they've held, because I promised I would. Just like I promised I would teach them how to sword fight. That hasn't come off the table. Likewise, we have to look as foam flingers to the hobby. So this is very much what you should buy. This is the kind of thing you buy on Black Friday when you're boycotting the big guys. All my stuff I've bought at extreme discount because that's the only way I can afford it, with coupons and deals and wheeling and dealing and a few other things. Except this. This I got. This I got because I looked at it. I went, oh, it's cool. It's in. And Mandy looked at me and she goes, do you want the toy? And I went, yes. She said, put it in the car. I went, okay. And I put it in the car. But I have this idea and it permeates everything I do. I have several ideas that are like that. But I believe that there is an unspecified amount of ownership of an IP, of a product that is of a service that is in the hands of the fans and customers of said service. Being once they sold me, actually once they sold these, the modding community went, wait, this is a piece that hinges on a single hinge point right here. That means we could 3D print our own pieces that'll fit. And they immediately started modding these so that they'd fire different size darts, different size balls, all manner of shenanigans. I don't know if they've done a disc firing one yet. Wouldn't surprise me. But, oh yeah, Nerf tried to do discs too, and it didn't work either. Dart Zone saw that they did that people were spray painting these. You have to unscrew it, take it apart. They started this year, actually, I want to say this week, on dartzone.com. And again, I am not sponsored. I'm just telling you about this. Selling a version of this that is rigged to have 3 barrels to shoot at the same time. And it comes disassembled with 2 different sets of basically scales, to go on the outside of it. So you can either make it red or white. And I suspect they picked white because white will be the easiest to cover up with spray paint, so that you can keep your one that's still stuck, and then you can decorate your own. And they're doing them as the first professional DIY build your own kits, professionally released, because that has been a staple of the hobby for decades. You can buy a full pre-made blaster, or if you have a 3D printer, you can buy what's called a hardware kit, which would just be the little valvey piece and all these screws and the spring and the barrel chunk. But all the plastic parts, you'd get the files and you print your own. Or you could buy the 3D printed, they print all the 3D parts and give you the hardware kit cheaper. Or you could buy the full version at the full bird price. Hobbyists are used to that kind of transaction. So now Dart Zone is experimenting with that kind of transaction. Now, X-Shot has done a couple things. They recently released a new type, a different type of firing mechanism. And it's a whole new blaster, but it is above the price, the comfortable price line of most over-the-counter Nerfers, or foam flingers. We're going to see how well that's received. But it's a very powerful, very neat blaster. It just has some hang-ups. And their previous blasters had some real quality issues, which is sad because I love the form factor. Right now on the market for pro blasters, the only one who's doing it right is Dart Zone of the big pro blasters. Now, I do not want to disparage anyone on Busby. Busby is still making quality blasters that just work. They're great kid blasters. Some of them are a little flimsy, but they are designed to be for the poorer market. And I will say this. I deal with a lot of customer service calls on a lot of things. I call small companies. I've written Hasbro and Nerf. I regularly consult, send information in to Dart Zone. I like to think that My voice is at least one of the many that caused them to build the uh, the new pirate pistols, the 4-barrel ones. Not Renegade, that's the big one. Shoot, Privateer, Buccaneer, the Buccaneer. That's not here because it lives in the living room as one of my favorite blasters. But for all the folks who've been sticking around, I have some interesting news. Right now, if you were to look, Target has been marking down their Pro blasters a lot, and they have been showing up on the Bullseye Deals eBay site. Very inexpensive, to the point my Outlaw, which is my favorite blaster of all time, 6-shot revolver, swappable cylinders, usually goes for between 35 and 40 bucks. New in box are going for $13, $15. Meanwhile, on the Dart Zone site right now, after Black Friday, they've started a 12 days of Christmas random markdown sale. You can find that at dartzoneblasters.com. Just Google Dart Zone blasters. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But you still have shipping and handling and all those shenanigans. Now, in the past, I've ordered from them to get, specific blasters as they're released, only to find out that a month or two later, when the new ones come out, they mark the older ones down again. So I think that our buddies at Dart Zone have already long since checked out of what's coming out this year, and they're prepping releases for next year. Now, they've done some interesting things. They re-released the Liberator, which is a rival blaster, or they call them high-impact rounds, but the about 68 caliber balls. And they released theirs in a Galaxy screen-printed version, which I find interesting. I think it's because they're using the same kind of technology to get this printing on flat surface. I'm trying to get see. There's a texture here, but this isn't just painted. Nerf can't paint both sides of a blaster. These guys are doing full screen print stuff. Now, Nerf has started doing this, and Dart Zone does. X-Shot does it too. But they're re-releasing old blasters. They've re-released the Venom Pro, which is the pistol form factor, full auto, basically machine pistol I talked about earlier, and I kid you not, color changing plastic that changes color in the sun versus in the shade. I mean, it will go from like a white to a pinkish. Oh, have a good time, Carl. This is interesting. I want to see what they're doing next. So I would be very careful. I'd watch the sales, but understand if you're going to go after a last-minute Dart Zone blaster, there are some good sales out there. I really recommend, if you don't own a Dart Zone Outlaw, everyone should. I own like 4 now. Good night, Donna. Getting one of those for yourself. They're great fun for plinking. They're safer than BBs, but you can get the same experience. I recommend it. If not, keep an eye out, fans. I think there's going to be some new release information probably after the holiday season, where they start to leak what's coming out for 2026. But that's just me pulling out my crystal ball. I'm hoping people will get the idea of what makes a blaster work and why Nerf just isn't what it used to be, and how Dart Zone has gotten where they are. Because whenever you see a success story, you should study it, because you may be able to repeat it. With that, guys, I've gone nearly an hour. Honestly, my throat is so sore right now, it's not even funny. I will see you all very soon. Thanks for coming by. Keep flinging foam and do it on the cheap. And wear your iPro, folks. I'll see you probably tomorrow at 10 a.m. for my Never Mind the Furthermore show. Toodles. All these blasters were bought with my own money. If anybody wants to sponsor me or donate blasters to have me review them, please contact me. Okay? Toodles, folks.